Good morning, student. Am I audible?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. So we'll start. So slide is visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we'll continue with the last topic. First is the reactor control of short circuit currents. Okay. So in last class, we have discussed that if there is a fault on a three-phase system and that fault is a kind of fault which is occurring in three phases simultaneously, and in that case we can observe that the fault current in the three phases will be equal, so we can say that is a symmetrical fault. And if the fault currents are unequal, then we'll have a separate analysis for that, that is known as the unsymmetrical fault analysis. Now one thing we have to think of this, that is when there is a fault in the system, so the fault current will be it is a now I will ask one question. So if let us say the system is having some rated current capacity, if there is a fault, so whether the current will increase or current will decrease?
Increase.
So it will increase to a very high value, maybe 3 to 5 times than the normal rated current. So in that case, what will happen? If this fault current is increased to a very high value, then the problem will come, that is the equipment which is connected with the system, that may get damaged. Okay. So there should be some control, or there should be some instrument which, or the equipment, or the, let us say, element which will actually restrict this current. So there is a way by which we can control this fault current, that is the basically the reactors are connected in series with the line. So basically what will happen, you see, just try to understand this point very carefully. When we connect a reactor in series with the circuit, so what will happen? That reactor is basically inductance. So that inductance will offer the inductive reactance. Inductive reactance means it will offer basically an impedance in the circuit. So it will offer the impedance in the circuit, the current for a fixed voltage, the current will, if the impedance is more, the current will be low or high?
Low.
So current will be low. That means by connecting a reactor in series with the circuit, we can reduce the value of the fault current, and that's what we want. Actually, we want to limit this fault current. It should not exceed a maximum value, so that the problem will not come in the circuit, and thereby we can protect the equipments which is connected with the system. So we'll now just go through the slide. So with the fast expanding power system, the fault level, that is the power available to flow into a fault, is also rising. The circuit breakers connected in the power system must be capable of dealing with the maximum possible short circuit currents that can occur at their points of connection. Generally, the reactance of the system under fault condition is low, and the fault current may rise to a dangerously very high value. So let us understand. You have a let us say in a system, the generator is there, and after that, obviously, there will be a circuit breaker. So circuit breaker is basically making the switch on and off, okay, with the help of the relay. Now, let us say you have that particular circuit breaker, it is designed up to 1000 ampere. Okay. Now your fault current, because when you have a, let us say, the equipment which is connected at the present condition, it can capable to carry the current up to 630 ampere. Now the load is connected, more load it is connected into the system. Now it has increased to a 1500 ampere. So depending upon this, when you increase the load in the other side, your fault current will also increase because of the connected, because your load is more in the receiving end side. So what will happen? Instead of changing this circuit breaker what we can do, we can connect the reactor in the system. So when we connect the reactor in the system, the fault current value will reduce. So thereby we can reduce that same circuit breaker into the circuit, and finally we can reduce the cost of the system. Yes, is it clear or not?
Sir, repeat again.
So when, let us say, you have a circuit breaker which is connected into the system, now it is carrying, it is the normally the rated current of that particular breaker is, let us say, 1000 ampere. Now you have the load is increased and the fault level of the system, and due to that the system will basically have some more current during the fault. So let us say it is a 1500 ampere. Now should we go for change of the circuit breaker? Obviously not, because circuit breaker is a very, very costly equipment. And if you are increasing the load, and thereby you are basically doing the increasing the fault level of the system. So every time we have to change the circuit breaker. So that is not possible. So if you change the circuit breaker, the cost will be involved. So now the solution is we can connect the reactors into the circuit, and by connecting the reactors into the circuit, we can reduce the fault current, and we can actually use the same circuit breaker into the circuit, and thereby we are reducing the actually additional cost of the system. Now it is clear?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So if no steps are taken to limit the value of these short circuit currents, not only will be the duty required of circuit breakers be excessively heavy, but also damage to the lines and other equipments will almost certainly occur. So just now whatever we have discussed, in order to limit the short circuit currents to a value which the circuit breakers can handle, additional reactances known as the reactors are connected in series with the system at suitable points. A reactor is a coil of number of turns designed to have a large inductance as compared to its ohmic resistance. So it is basically an inductor. Now, what are the advantages? If we connect the reactors into the circuit, so what are the advantages we can observe? First is the reactors limit the flow of the short circuit current and thus protect the equipment from overheating as well as from failure due to the destructive mechanical forces. Second, the troubles are localized or isolated at the point where they originate without communicating their disturbing efforts to the other parts of the system. So we can actually make the things in a localized way. It will not actually propagate. That fault current will not propagate. Instead of that, we are reducing that current, and thereby actually the whole system will be safe. So this increases the chance of continuity of supply. Third is that they permit the installation of the circuit breakers of lower rating. See, if we use these reactors into the circuit, so obviously we can reduce the fault current, and thereby the rating of the circuit breaker which we are going to use, that will be also reduced. So reduced rating means ultimately the cost of the circuit breaker is also reduced. Now the location of the reactors. So location of the reactors, it is basically normally short circuit current limiting reactors may be connected in series with each generator, in series with each feeder, and in bus bars. So these are the major equipments where there is a major equipments. There only we connect the reactors. Okay, normally in the substation we can see these reactors. So no definite statement can be given as to which one of the location is preferable. Normally we used to prefer these three locations. Generally, this power is coming from the generator, then it is feeding into the bus bar, and then thereafter it is going through the feeders or the transmission lines. So in these are the possible areas where we actually can locate, or we can actually install these reactors, and thereby we can limit the short circuit current. Now first we'll understand what is generator reactors. Now from the term it is clear that you know that a generating station, the generate the power, and after that there will be a generator transformer. So that voltage is stepped up from the, let us say, the voltage is generated at 11 kV, it will be stepped up to 132 kV, and thereafter 132 or maybe a higher voltage. Nowadays in India there is a high voltage lines it is available. So it is basically stepped up to a very high value, and before that we should connect the generator reactor. So generator reactor means if there is a fault on the generator side, fault current will be basically limited with the help of this generator reactor. So when the reactors are connected in series with each generator, they are known as the generator reactors. In this case, the reactor may be considered as a part of leakage reactance of the generator. Hence, its effect is to protect the generator in the case of any short circuit beyond the reactors. So beyond the reactors, if there is any fault occurs, it will not enter into the generator. So it will limit the fault current. So I will try to understand this thing. I will give a just a brief description of that. Slide is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So let us say this is a generator and you have a, let us say this is your generator, and then for example we have a reactor, and then it is feeding to the bus. Okay, maybe there will be a circuit breaker. So circuit breaker will be connected. Breaker will be there. It's getting a problem. Just a minute. So there is a circuit breaker. So this is your generator reactor. This is your basically a GR, generator reactor, and this is your circuit breaker, and this is your generator, that is your G. Now what will happen, the purpose of this generator reactor is it is used only for the to limit this or to protect this generator. Why? Let us say any fault is occurring here, means after this generator reactor. So what will happen? The fault current will try to enter through these paths to the generator. So unless and until this particular reactor it is present, so what will happen? The fault current will try to enter into the generator, and generator it is the main source of this electrical power system. So that has to be protected in any way. So what we are doing actually, if we connect this generator reactor here, so this generator reactor will offer the inductance or the reactance. This generator reactor, it will offer the reactance, and when it is offering the reactance, finally it is basically offering the impedance of the circuit. So we know the fault current IF is basically V by ZR. So if this value is very, very high, so what will happen? This fault current will be low. So when this fault current is low, basically this generator will be affected by a less amount of current. Is it clear? Any doubt? Any doubt?
No, sir.
Clear? Why we are going for this generator reactor and what is the purpose of this generator reactor? So we'll see this. You see, this is a generators. 3 generators are connected here, and this is the location of the generator reactor. And thereafter there is a bus bar, and after that there is a feeders are there. So feeders are going outgoing feeders. So it is connected with the load. So loads are connected through these feeders. Okay, the domestic load, industrial load, those loads are connected through these feeders. Now, what are the disadvantages of this particular type of configuration? We'll understand that thing. So first is that there is a constant voltage drop and the power loss in the reactors even during the normal condition. Now we will ask that, sir, why there is that thing is happening? Because it is true. It is true because what will happen? The generator is feeding the current through this path, okay, and it is actually fed to the bus bar, and from the bus bar it is going to the feeders. So what will happen? There is a continuous flow of the current because it is feeding power to the bus bar, and from the bus bar the feeders are getting the power. So what will happen? There is, due to this continuous flow of current, this is X. So there will be a drop X into I. That is the reactive drop. So this reactive drop will continuously happening, and there will be a small power loss on the system because of this drop. Okay, so this is the first reason. And second is that if a bus bar or a feeder fault occurs close to the bus bar, the voltage at the bus bar will be reduced to a low value, thereby causing the generators to fall out of step. Now, what will happen if a bus bar or feeder fault occurs close to the bus bar? Okay, so let us say fault has occurred here or here, very close to the bus bar. So now what will happen? It will be basically having very low value and causing the generators to fall out of step. So due to this fault, the generators voltage will be very low. So we know the generator, when it is connected with the grid, it is synchronized. Basically, these generators are synchronized with the grid. So there are three conditions has to be maintained. One is the voltage, another is the phase sequence, and third one is what? You tell me. What is the third condition for the synchronism? The third condition to connect a generator with the grid. Condition for synchronization.
So frequency.
So frequency should match. Now, if there is a voltage drop, so what will happen? The voltage will be very low and it will not match with the grid voltage. So if that is not matching, so the generator will fall out of synchronism. So that is a very one kind of disadvantage. Now, if a fault occurs on any feeder, the continuity of the supply of the other is likely to be affected. So this is one of the reason, because ultimately the generator is affected because of this fault, and finally the generator has to shut down. So these are the basically disadvantages of the generator reactor, and due to these disadvantages, and also since modern power station generators have sufficiently large leakage reactance to protect them against short circuit, it is not a common practice to use a separate reactors for the generators. So because nowadays what will happen, the generator itself, it has some high value of the leakage reactance. So if there is a large leakage reactance, so what will happen? The generator itself, it is capable to handle the short circuit current, and thereby it is in within their particular generator, let us say system, it is able to handle the short circuit current, and that's why no separate generator reactors are connected nowadays, because the modern generators, it is equipped with such kind of facility. Is it clear, these generator reactors?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we'll go to feeder reactors. Now the feeder reactors, from the name it is clear that it should be connected with the feeder, not with any other parts. It is normally connected in series with the feeder. So when the reactors are connected in series with each feeder, they are known as a feeder reactor. Since most of the short circuit occurs on the feeders, a large number of reactors are also used for such circuits, because normally what will happen, ultimately the loads are connected at the end, and feeder has to carry that particular load current. Now the fault, the chances of fault, it is occurring at the load side. That is the majority. Let us say, if you study, if you take the statistical analysis of the fault which is occurring in the electrical power system, so 90% fault out of this total fault occurring in the system, the 90% fault it is occurring in the feeder side. So that's why the feeders are more prone to the fault, and that's why the fault current, when there is a fault in the feeder, so obviously there will be high current will flow, and that high current has to be bear by this particular feeder. And unless and until we reduce the fault current with the help of by connecting the reactors, the feeders will be overheated, and there will be some chances of damage. So basically, and it will so happen that the equipments which is connected with the feeder, the transformers, the breakers, let us say other all the electrical apparatus that is connected with the system, that may get also damaged. So we need to limit this fault current, and thereby we have to protect those equipments. So two principal advantages are claimed for feeder reactors. Firstly, if a fault occurs on any feeder, the voltage drop in its reactor will not affect the busbar voltage, so that there is a little tendency for the generator to lose synchronism. So what will happen if there is a, let us say, fault occurs on any of the feeder, so other feeders will not be affected. Okay. Secondly, the fault on a feeder will not affect the other feeders, and consequently the effects of the faults are localized, because we can understand that if a fault occurs on one feeder, it will not affect the other feeders. So we'll see some diagrams are there. So here, let us say it is a bus bar, and it is feeding it is getting power from the generators, and outside this bus bar we have the feeders. So in each feeder, we have the reactors. So suppose a fault has occurred here, so it will not affect this, because why? But the fault has occurred here, so what will happen? This feeder reactor will limit the fault current. So fault current will not be actually, it will not enter into the bus bar. So if it is entering into the bus bar, so then there is a chance that the fault current will flow into this feeder or it will enter into this feeder. But we are limiting the fault current here. So ultimately, thereby what will happen? It is a kind of localized one. So that means a particular feeder is actually responsible to limit the fault current, and thereby it is limiting the whole equipment, the generators as well as the bus bars as well as the other feeders. Is it clear that what I have told just now? Is it clear, feeder reactor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what are the disadvantages? First is that there is a constant power loss and the voltage drop in the reactors even during the normal operation. So what will happen? The continuously the power is flowing here also. So there will be the drop. Obviously, the drop will occur because of this X. So X is there. So X into I drop will be there. If a short circuit occurs at the bus bars, no protection is provided to the generators. However, this is of little importance because such faults are rare and modern generators have considerable leakage reactors to enable them to withstand short circuit across the terminals. So that means the chances of fault occurring at the generator side, it is very, very less. And that's why the generators are continuously feeding the power. Actually, this particular, let us say, load interruption or the load shedding which is occurring, that is because of the load side, not at the generator side. Generator is always generating power. If the generator has to start and it has to shut down, it will take a long hours. We'll study in detail that when we'll study the economic load dispatch and other chapters. So the generator is the equipment which requires a startup time and the shutdown time. It is a long time, maybe 8 to 9 hours. So if we suddenly switch off any generator and switch on that, it is not possible. But that is the case for the thermal generators. But in case of a hydro generators, that particular shutdown and starting time, it is comparatively less. If we compare with the thermal generators. So if the number of generators is increased, the size of the feeders will have to be increased to keep the short circuit currents within the ratings of the feeder circuit breakers. So obviously, if you are increasing this generator capacity, so this capacity has to be increased. Now next is the busbar reactors. So busbar reactors, the name, it is clear that it is connected in the busbar. So there are two types of configuration. One is the ring system, another is the tie bar system. There are two types of configuration. It is available in the busbar reactors. So the above two methods of locating reactors suffer from the disadvantages that there is a considerable voltage drop and the power loss in the reactors even during the normal operation. So we have seen that in case of a generator reactors as well as in the feeder reactor, in both the cases, when the power is on, if there is no fault, if there is no fault at that condition also, the fault current, the normal current, it will flow through the reactor and thereby there will be a voltage drop as well as there is a power loss, which is not actually desirable. So this disadvantage can be overcome by locating the reactors in the bus bar. So if we locate these reactors in the bus bar, so there will not be any problem. So we'll see that how to do that. So there are two methods for this purpose. One is the ring system, another is the tie bar system. So now we'll understand in the ring system what is happening. You see in the ring system, this is a generators and reactors are connected in between this. Okay, between the two generators, these reactors are connected. So what is the advantage we will get now? You see, if there is this is connected in series with the bus bar. So this reactor, if there is a fault on this side, let us say this feeder, there is a fault. So what will happen? This feeder, this particular fault current cannot enter into this side. Okay, so ultimately this particular region is affected, so which will not allow the fault current to flow into this particular region or this particular generator or this feeder or this feeder. So that means we are basically localizing the fault into a particular region, and so that the other generators and other feeders will not be affected. Is it clear that how this ring main system will operate?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Now let us say the tie bar system. So tie bar system, here you see there is a two bus bar. One is the main bus bar, another is the tie bar. And your feeder is connected here. You see, this way it is actually operated. So there is a fault on the feeder, on one of the feeder. Okay, any feeder. Let us say middle one, this feeder. So feeder, there is a fault. So what will happen? This fault current will, and there is a fault on the main bus bar also. So what will happen? This main bus bar will be disconnected and it will be connected with the tie bar. Then it will be connected with the tie bar. So one of the advantage we are getting here that we have some, let us say, alternate supply, because if there is a fault on the bus bar itself, the tie bar will be come into action and it will actually operate the system. And moreover, the fault current will not be actually allowed to flow in the other generators or the other feeders. So if the fault has occurred here in this feeder, what will happen? It will be limited here only. It will not allow the fault current to flow here because reactors are present, because these are the basically the high impedance. These are the high impedance path. It will not allow to flow this here. Similarly, it will not allow to flow here. So the remaining electrical apparatus, that is the other generators, other feeders, those will be unaffected and thereby the system becomes healthy. The particular fault will be localized and it will be basically within a particular region, it will be localized. So other feeders, other electrical major equipments will be protected from this particular fault. Is it clear that what is the tie bar system? Any question? Any question?
So explain once.
Huh?
So, once more, sir.
Which one?
So the tie bar system.
Tie bar system, correct. So in tie bar system, what will happen? These reactors are connected between two bus bar. This is the main bus bar. These are the main bus bar, and this is your auxiliary bus bar. It is also known as the tie bar. So between these two bus bar, these reactors are connected, and the feeders are connected here. Okay. Now we are taking the fault is occurring here. Let us say this feeder. So what will happen due to this fault current, high fault current? The high fault current will not be allowed to flow into this particular region. It will not allow to flow because what will happen? This reactor will come into action, thereby protecting this generator and this bus bar. So when we are protecting this generator and we are protecting this bus bar, so this feeder is protected. This point is clear. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now here also you see if the fault has occurred here, so now what will happen? The fault current will try to flow here, but it will be limited by this particular reactor. Thereby, we are actually protecting this bus bar, we are protecting this generator, and thereby we are protecting this feeder also. So that means we are actually localizing the fault and we are not allowing the fault current to flow in the other electrical system. So ultimately, the whole system gets healthy. The particular region where the fault has occurred, that has been detected and that is rectified, and then thereafter that particular line is restored. So the continuity of the supply, or let us say the reliability of the supply, is enhanced with the help of this particular system. Is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Now we'll come to the calculation part, because we have understood the reactors configuration, how to connect the reactors, what are the different configuration. So those things we have understood. Now we'll study that what are the steps for symmetrical fault calculation, because we have understood that the fault will occur in the three phases, and then the fault current will be same in the three phases. But what is how to do this analysis? What is the process? So that we're going to study now. So we know that the three-phase short circuit faults results in the symmetrical fault currents. That is, the fault currents in the three phases are equal in magnitude, but displaced 120 electrically from one another. So basically, I will just show the magnitude of the fault current remains same, but only there will be they are displaced in phase displacement will be basically 120 . So I think this kind of thing you are already familiar. But still I will do some. This is your IR, 120 phase shift, means this is your IY, and this will be your IB. So all these particular, this is 120 , and this is your 120 , and this is also your 120 degree. Is it clear? Now, in this case, the fault current, this will be IR, will be equal to IY, equal to IB, should be equal to the fault current IF. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So therefore, the problems involving such faults can be solved by considering one phase only as the same condition prevail in the other two phases. So we have to do for one phase only. For the remaining phase, we don't have to do anything because we know that in that case, the fault current will be, it is same in the other two phases. Now, our first step is we have to draw a single line diagram of the complete network indicating the rating, voltage, and the percentage reactance of each element of the network. So this is the first step. But what is the single line diagram? Do you know the single line diagram? What is single line diagram? Anyone? Please share. Anyone?
Whole system draw in single line transformer.
Yeah. One thing you have to tell that in single line diagram, yes, correct. But how to means if somebody asks you in the interview, let us say, what is a single line diagram? So it is a one line diagram. It is clear. That is clear. We are representing the three phases of electrical system consisting of all the electrical apparatus. Okay.
Into single line.
Into single line. Okay. That is basically single line diagram. So what we have to do, this single line diagram has to be drawn, and we have to indicate that what is the voltage, the different power rating, and their percentage reactance. Second step, choose a numerically convenient value of base kVA and convert all percentage reactances to this base value. So we know that we have to choose a base value. Base value means I have discussed that how to choose a base value of the system. So base kVA we have to choose. And different electrical equipment will have their own kVA rating. Their own kVA rating will be there. But when we'll choose a base kVA, we have to convert all this power rating, that is their individual kVA rating, into the corresponding base kVA, and we need to convert all the percentage reactances to this base value. Third point, corresponding to the single line diagram of the network, draw the reactance diagram showing one phase of the system, because we are not worried for the three phases. Whatever will happen in one phase, that will be valid for the other two phases. One phase and the neutral. Indicate the percentage reactance of the base kVA and in the reactance diagram. So we have to indicate what is the percentage reactance, because we have converted all the percentage reactances of all the equipments, and now we have to, as per the base value. So when we have converted those percentage reactances in terms of the base value, we need to put those percentage reactances into the your reactance diagram. How to draw those things? We'll take the numerical problems and we'll deal with those things. Okay. The transformer in the system should be represented by a reactance in series, because the transformer obviously that has some reactance value. So that reactance has to be, basically it will be a series reactance. Next, find the total percentage reactance of the network up to the point of fault. Let it be X percentage. So we have drawn the single line diagram. We have drawn the reactance diagram. So in the reactance diagram, we need to calculate what is the percentage reactance of the network up to that particular fault point. So let us, for example, that value is X percentage. Now find the full load current corresponding to the selected base kVA and the normal system voltage at the fault point. Let it be I. So now we have to calculate what is the full load current. Full load current we can calculate based upon the kVA rating and the system voltage. So that will be up to the fault point. We can calculate what is the full load current. Let us say that current is maybe I. So now we can calculate the short circuit current. This formula you are familiar. ISC equal to I into 100 by percentage X. Do you know this formula?
Yes, sir.
Last class we have discussed, correct. So short circuit kVA we can calculate from that is base kVA into 100 by percentage X. So this formula also we have discussed in the last class. Okay. So we can calculate what is the short circuit current and what is the short circuit kVA of the system. Is it clear? Any steps? Any problem? Please tell me.
No, sir.
Okay, fine. So now we'll take some numerical example. Okay, I will take one example, then you will understand that thing. Please practice these numerical problems, because unless you practice, you can understand the problem, but finally the calculation part you have to do on your own. I can make you understand that how to do this thing, but finally when you are doing the calculation, there are some mistakes also observed. So that's why you should do your own calculation. You practice it with the help of calculator and your in your paper, so that ultimately you will be feeling confident when you will actually solve this type of problem. So let us first understand what is this particular problem state. Now you see there are two generators. One generator is 15,000 kVA, another generator is 20,000 kVA, and the reactances of these two generators are 30% and 50%. Okay, and the busbar voltage is 12,000 volt. Now there is a fault has occurred after this busbar. So figure shows the single line diagram of a three-phase system. The percentage reactance of each generator is based on its own capacity. Find the short circuit current that will flow into the complete three-phase short circuit at F. So we need to calculate if there is a fault occurs at here, what should be the fault current, or let us say short circuit current. That is our interest. Okay, so we'll apply the same steps whatever just now we have discussed. So how to do that? So we'll choose first, let us say base kVA. So we are choosing a base kVA 35,000 kVA. Now I have told you, you can choose this base kVA as per your wish. Here it is written 35,000. If you can take 25,000 also, there will not be problem, but the answer will be remain same. So choosing a base kVA doesn't matter. It will not affect your final output. It will be the same. Okay. Now let us say we have chosen this base kVA. Second step. So base kVA is chosen. Okay. Now we have to calculate, let us say, what is the percentage reactance of this equipment? Now 35,000 kVA is the base kVA. Now for this particular generator A, the kVA rating is 15,000 kVA. For generator B, it is 20,000 kVA. So these kVA ratings are different than your base kVA. So whatever percentage reactance here it is given, this will not be the same if we convert it into the base kVA. Correct? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we need to convert this percentage reactance as per the base kVA. How to do this thing? We know that is a very simple thing. That is a unitary method. For 15,000 kVA, the percentage reactance is 30%. For 1 kVA, it is 30% by 15,000 kVA. And for 35,000 kVA, what should be? I will just show you here. You should not face any difficulty. It is very easy. This is how much I will see 15,000 30%. Okay. Okay, I'll write here only so that. Okay, so it is basically unitary method. 15,000 kVA. What was the reactance value? 15%, na? 30%. Okay, fine. So for 1 kVA, it is 30% divided by 15,000 kVA. And we have chosen our base kVA as 35,000 kVA. So this is basically 35,000 by 15,000 into 30%. Okay. So this way we have to calculate that, we have to convert it. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you see, this is the 35,000 by 15,000 into 30. So you will get some percentage. Similarly, for this alternator also, you have to do the same thing. So 35,000 by 20,000 into 50. So this will be some calculation. It will come 87.5. Fine. Now, next step, if we can refer these percentage reactances we have converted, this step is over. Now we have to calculate what is the full load current. Okay, what is the full load current? So full load current, it is based on this base kVA. Base kVA is 35,000 kVA. It is the base kVA. That will be the full load current. So I will be 35,000 kVA. So it will be 10 to the power 3. We have converted into VA. Then root 3 into V. V is here 12,000 volt. Root 3 into 12 into 10 to the power 3. So it is coming as 1684. Now let us come to your reactance diagram. So this is your reactance diagram. You see reactance diagram, how it is drawn. This A and B. this A and B, this basically you have it two generators. So what will happen? We need 2 into in terms of your reactances. So A is 70% and B is 87.5%. So finally, what will happen? And this is common bus bar. This is A and this is B. But you see, this A and B, it is there, and these two are the parallel reactants. Now, fault has occurred here. So when the fault has occurred means there is a short circuit. So these 2 points are shorted. What will happen finally? These two reactances are connected in parallel, yes or no? These two reactances are connected in parallel.
Yes, sir.
So the percentage X will be XA parallel with XB. So if you do this particular calculation, this and this, you have to substitute and you are getting something like this. That is 38.89%. This is the total percentage reactance. Now the short circuit current, this formula we know, IS equal to I into 100 by percentage X. So IS equal to I into 100 by percentage X. We are substituting this value 1684 and this is 100 by 38.89. So we are getting this value. This is the short circuit current of this corresponding to this particular fault. Is it clear? Any doubt? Any doubt? Please tell me.
Sir, A and B are neutral due to earthing.
A and B.
Yes, sir. The connection between
Connection.
in the solution diagram, sir.
Yeah, I have understood your point. Here between A and B, you see there is this point A, this is B. This bus bar is connected with the earth. This bus bar,
Yes, sir.
okay, so A and B, there is a reactance. So these are the two reactances. Now finally, there is a fault at this point. So what will happen? This A is this is one reactance and this is another reactance. Forget about this neutral. Forget about neutral. This is common bus bar. Okay. So from bus bar to there is a one reactance, there is another reactance. But these two reactants are shorted at some point here.
Yes, sir.
So that's why these points are basically F.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
common point.
Yes.
Any question from anyone? Okay. So if there is no question, so we'll close this meeting and we'll continue our class. I think tomorrow we have again. So thank you to all. You can refer my class in the YouTube. Okay. Are you referring that class in the YouTube?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Are you getting those videos in the YouTube?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can refer that thing also. But the live lecture should be very important because you can ask your question, you can clear your doubts. In those videos, you cannot ask. Okay. So that is a limitation. Okay. But it is for your facility. You can refer those videos and you can check those videos in your exam time also, so that if there is any doubt, that can be cleared. Okay. Okay. Thank you. If there is no question, I'll close this meeting. And the attendance,
Thank you, sir.
actually, I have taken the screenshot. Okay. And based on that, or you can do one thing. You can, let us say, who are the present, those student can send this attendance to in your group in one sheet. One sheet you have to give your attendance, because today the LMS portal is not working at this moment. Okay, there is a problem on the LMS portal. Because of that, we have to take the manual attendance and we'll enter into those manual attendance. Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.